you've been studying the harp, and the decision whether or not you should continue studying and get the more expensive harp. And your parents have come to you to ask you this. And you write, Frank and Gail do not ask me if I love playing the harp or ask if I love music. They don't say it's important to stay with something. They don't say confidence comes from being good at something, and that being good at something comes from practice and discipline and small successes over many years. In reading this, there was no point where I was like, oh, that's where they've told you that. But clearly that's a lesson you've learned because it's written here. So how did you come to learn that lesson?
Well, through osmosis, through trial and error, through reading books, through other forms of
Yeah.
media, through film and television. I mean, I was always paying attention to best practices. And I mean, I was a really hyper vigilant kid, and it's hard to shake. I still have
Mhm.
that sense like, it's not safe, it's not safe. And so always kind of assessing who I can talk to, who has information for me. And unfortunately, I asked all the right questions to all the wrong people for many, many years. And I didn't realize it, to people who couldn't relate to my upbringing. Or if
Yeah.
I would share stories, they would be like, that doesn't happen. That's unbelievable. I'd see a therapist and they'd say, run for your life. And I would say, oh no, I must have told it wrong and made myself look good. Let me explain it again. Here's my part. Here's what I did. Here's what I could have done differently.
Yeah.
And I was always seeking the person that could save the day and tell me how to create harmony with Gail, and how to how to make my father stay and how to have harmony with
Hmm.
with Gail.
One of the things I sort of noticed was, and you sort of speak this here, is like this idea of you're in this position of trying to keep the peace all the time between your mother and your father. And that sort of translates later into like your early professional career as you're working with photographers and directors on TV, and you're trying to sort of do what everyone else wants as opposed to sort of advocating for yourself when you're the star, right? And I'm was thinking about how that contrasts so much to the perception I think that we the fans have, of course, of your dad is always in control, and Gail obviously very much in control. You talk a little bit in the book as how you would approach those situations as, okay, this is a character that people are wanting me to play, and so I'm going to play this different role for these different people just to sort of survive this situation. Did you ever approach those situations and say, I'm going to play a version of Gail, or I'm going to play a version of Frank to sort of like reclaim that power?
Not early on, no. I mean, in terms of friendships and maybe people I would hire, or meaning like an agent that would represent me, or in my dating life, I would try out a little bit of Frank and Gail. But honestly, again, I was so conditioned to be a Lady Butler from such a tiny age. And
Yeah.
again, my name, Moon, I took it literally, that I'm this thing that just has no light of its own, and I'm here to reflect the light of my father.
Yeah.
And that was the system. And then unit, I'm the first kid, so we became a family unit. So family is just, it's in my DNA strand as the most important thing. And so also, just by nature of being the firstborn, I had this sense of just caretaking. And so to be conditioned like that, and then to go into the professional world, it's no wonder that I got into acting, where I'm told where to stand, how to have my hair,
Hmm.
these are the words you're going to say, this is how you're going to move. I mean, I literally was conditioned. This is like the perfect next step for me, and I didn't even stop to think, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
And I idolized my father. Of course, I wanted to also give to the world and have that experience of connecting to
Sure.
people, and having that fan performer relationship. That's what was modeled for me.